Of course, it's your election headquarters. We're talking the NDC's manifesto launch later today. It's been touted as an all-inclusive manifesto. What should we expect? How is our coverage going to be like? We're touching on some of the issues and trying to find out how the NDC intends tackling these. This is the document that they're intending to bring to us, the people, so we can give them a vote. My guests, Peter Otokono, Peter Boamo-Otokono is the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. Evans Mensah is the head of our political desk here at JoyNews. Dr. Alidu Seidu is a political scientist. We'll be joined by an economist later on in our conversation. But gentlemen, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning.
Great. Let me start with you, Mr. Peter Otokono. Help us appreciate what has gone into this manifesto that will be outdoored later today.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. The manifesto we are about to launch today is a collection of various ideas from the mass of the people, and that is why we have dubbed it the People's Manifesto. Following the announcement of the committee last year, I'm sure you will recall, the committee announced that we would be picking memoranda from the public, and any individual who is in this country or beyond the borders of this country who sees Ghana in a particular manner and has some ideas or aspirations that he thinks that Mother Ghana should possess, that person could bring in a memorandum to the committee, and the committee would consider. We received several hundreds of thousands of comments from both Ghana and abroad through email. Some were bringing hard copies to the office of the General Secretary, and so on and so forth. And every single one of them, was considered. And so the documents that we have is a collection of the people's own aspirations. And so what we are going to launch today would be a document that tells the story of what the people want. So this is the most inclusive document or inclusive political document that has ever been created in this country. And we think that it will be worth it, considering how much Ghanaians have waited for this document. The much awaited document will be out today, and some of the issues have already, been mentioned by the flag bearer, and you have seen how the public response has been. Most of them have become public bangers, and everybody is following them because it came from them. We believe that if you want to govern and govern effectively, if you want accelerated economic development, accelerated infrastructure development, nobody can do better than the people's own way of doing things. And that is why we used that particular approach to prepare this People's Manifesto.
Let's just follow up on that. Let me come to you, Ms. Alidu Seidu. He's talked about some of the promises we've heard, the legalization of Okada, for instance, the paying of assemblymen. Are these, just promises? Is it just something for the people, or this is something that can truly be implemented that will help the nation in the long run?
Thank you so much. I think the NDC is creating a document, a manifesto in these elections that is quite different from other manifestos we've had in the fall for public in terms of methodology. Because when they started this procedure, they actually, like Peter Otokono said, they actually asked every meaningful Ghanaian to submit their challenges, problems, and aspirations that they want the NDC as a political party to address. And indeed, the committee was set up to move around the country to document some of these things. So it opens up to the public a kind of manifesto that reflects their wishes and aspirations. So I will really be very, very happy to read it and see how it has been able to capture the views of the people. So riding on the back of this, I believe most of the issues that have really been put out there are issues that reflect the needs and the wishes of the people. But indeed, the NDC, from what I have heard so far, is actually pitching camp to their root of social democracy. The whole concept of social democratic ideology is to care for the people, go back to the people, understand their wishes, and give them the opportunity to be able to realize the kind of lives that they really want to live. So most of the promises that have come up so far are promises that resonate with the core philosophy of caring for the people, the core philosophy of being each other's keeper, the core philosophy of providing those concepts of justice, the core philosophy of actually looking beyond just the needs of the people presently, but giving them a kind of hope in the future. So broadly speaking, from my own assessment of what has already been thrown out there and the kind of methodology that was used to put together this document is something that gives me fresh hope. And I really want to see the real document, and then it will be opened up for further interrogation to see whether these expectations are being met by what is going to be outdoor today.
It's disappointing that this is coming out now, though. If you look at even the two political parties that were having their manifesto at a time like this, when it's so close to the election itself, how much time would the people have to be familiar with what all that is contained in the manifesto?
Yeah, so under normal circumstances, we should have had these things coming up very early, maybe at least not less than a year to the electoral process, so that discerning citizens can interrogate, scrutinize, and carefully reflect on some of the promises. And then based on that, we should be able to see how that promises reflect the aggregated interests of the Ghanaian voter population. We see whether these promises are implementable or they are just populist rhetoric and all those things. So, but if it doesn't come early, just maybe 2 or 3 months to elections, it becomes very difficult to do that kind of proper scrutiny and analysis. But that shouldn't mean that we should underrate the curiosity of Ghanaians. Ghanaians are very curious, very discerning now. And with the help of media houses, a lot of scrutiny will be done. The MPP just launched theirs not long ago. And people were able to do that element of scrutiny, came out with a kind of contestations of ideas, but also maybe underrating the kind of feasibility of implementation of some of these policies. It would have been good idea to come early, but that doesn't still mean that people won't interrogate it. People will interrogate it, become a subject of discussion, and where people see that some of these manifestos are actually more populist than practical, they'll flag it out. So I still think there's time for both the media, civil society, and Ghanaians to be able to look at it, regardless of the very limited time that we have, and to be able to open the eyes of Ghanaians to see which of these manifestos is the best and which can address their core needs as citizens.
Let me bring in head of our political desk here at JoyNews, Evans Mensah, who essentially will be taking us through the coverage. But before that, Evans, let's look at the significance of the venue for this manifesto launch. We saw the NPP do it in Cape Coast. The NDC is doing it here in the Greater Accra region, swing regions. What's the significance of them holding the manifesto here?
It's very significant also because for the NDC, this is the second major event that they are having here in the Greater Accra region. It tells you a story where they are putting their eggs. They're putting their eggs, of course, and rightly so, in the basket of Greater Accra. They took the outdooring of their vice presidential candidate here in Greater Accra. They are doing a manifesto launch here in Greater Accra. Greater Accra is going to play a massive, massive role. I mean, in terms of, if you look at the voter register, which was recently compiled, again, Greater Accra has the largest, voter population in the world, in the country. Also, it's a swing region. Many important, interesting constituencies that, again, swing as well. And so it is very, very appropriate for the party to be focusing quite heavily on wooing voters over in Greater Accra. And I guess there must be a thinking behind bringing all these major events for the party into the Greater Accra region. And also, if you look at Joshua Alabi, who is a stalwart in the campaign, it was chosen as a to lead the campaign going forward with the GM. It was deliberate. I mean, Joshua Alabi is he rubs off very well with the Ghana communities going into an election like this. You actually will see the NDC strategy emerge, and anybody who's won Greater Accra wins elections. Anybody who's won the Central Region wins elections. You see the two major political parties already trying to tell you where they're trying to swing this. But Greater Accra, I guess, it's been more significant this year than before. And so, yes, of course, we'll wait to see what they do and how they move them. But the lines are pretty well drawn.
Mr. Tokno, you know, the fact that you're holding this here, what Evans has said, anything else you want to add for us to appreciate why you zeroed in on the Greater Accra region?
Well, Evans couldn't have said it any better. We had several considerations on the table. We were looking at various factors, and as you may recall, just a few weeks ago, we did the outdooring of the running mate in Accra. And so when we were looking out to launch our manifesto, we considered several other factors, including the fact that, you know, Greater Accra, it's very critical when it comes to election 2020 and perhaps all elections that we have done in this country. And then we also looked at, you know, what we wanted to do, the kind of message we wanted to send. We are sending a message, and we hope the message will reach and sit well with everybody who is able to have access. So then you would have to look at the medium with which you would transmit that critical message. And we thought that it would be better transmitted from Accra. So we have all the odds in favor of the arrangements that we had done for Accra. So we think that it was very, very essential. But there is, Mabi, let me mention that the preparation of our manifesto was not only the call for public memoranda. You had the flag bearer also reach out to the people through the speak out session that he did across the country. And I know that you followed the speak out program that we rolled out some few months ago. It was amazing. You have the case whereby you go into a community, people congregate, and you ask them about what are the aspirations, what are the common things they want to see in Ghana, what kind of Ghana they want to see, and it will amaze you the kind of things that they will tell you. We got so many ideas from the field through the speak out session that we did. Now, the concern that you raised to Dr. Ali Dusedu about people getting familiar with the document in this short time. Indeed, the people are the originators of the ideas, so they know the ideas already. You know, they are the originators of the manifesto. That's why we dubbed it the People's Manifesto. So familiarity with the document with this time will not be a problem. And then again, I mean, I know that JoyNews, you are doing a very good job with manifestos. I saw how you analyzed the MPP manifesto and exposed them badly. So we know you are going to analyze our manifesto as well. And in analyzing it, you are going to bring the issues up. And bringing the issues up, people will get to know. Those who brought in the ideas, those who didn't bring the ideas, they will see how it resonates with all of them. But I can assure you that what we are going to put out today will be an exceedingly inclusive document that would be, you know, acceptable by everybody who, you know, in fact, every single sector of our country, every single class of people in this country have been captured in this manifesto.
We wait to see, to appreciate, but let me come to you, Dr. Ali Dusedu. Manifestos are good for what you do, good for political analysis, for comparison, because obviously it's a competition. But how much of what is in the manifesto would translate into votes on election day?
Okay, so I think it's very crucial, and one of the documents that tells you the intention of political parties when they are able to win elections and form government. Over the years, it's been kind of a policy precursor, and then our development partners who usually assist this country sometimes can tell what you're going to do or intend doing by looking at your manifesto. But also the discerning voters usually would pay so much attention to the manifesto. Broadly, the people who vote based on the dominant party model will vote for their party anyway, whether they outdoor a manifesto or not. So to this core group of people, the manifesto is just a kind of a formality that, oh, my party has also adored the manifesto, or my party also has a manifesto. But manifesto should target the kind of undecided rational voters who usually wouldn't pitch camp with any political party, but actually examines the intents doing can benefit them or the core constituency that they belong to. So in this sense, it is very important that you do not just sit down and assume for the people what they may want. It is equally important to reach out to them and have a dialogue with them and see what their needs are, so that these needs can now be translated into kind of an aggregated aspirations of the people in what we call a manifesto. So I think, one, most political parties in this country trace manifesto and manifesto launch as a kind of formality. We also have one. But the intention of manifesto goes just beyond that element of formality. It should capture the needs of the people. It should give them hope, so that they know that when we invest confidence in this political party, we surely stand to benefit as a group. But collectively, as Ghanaians, our interests will be served in the long run. So it is a very good document in terms of policy formulation, in terms of foretelling what a government is going to do. But largely speaking, only few of our voter population vote based on what you have in your manifesto. Majority of the people are already decided, and to them, the manifesto is just a formality. But critically, you cannot just win by relying on only those who have already decided. You need to pitch camp with the floating voters, who are usually the kingmakers. So it is still significant in the process of bringing the people who are the +1 to your 50 to be able to win at the end of the day.
Evans, we've talked about the timing of the manifesto, not just for the NDC, but also for the NPP. And I wonder how we plan to explain what is contained in this document to the people who may not have the time to read the document. What's the plan?
So I can promise, Peter Tokono, that already this year is the first year where we're going to have two parties who have recently been in power, two candidates who have both been tasted power before. So the beauty of this time is, for the NDC, they have a 2012 manifesto which they governed with, and they have a 2016 manifesto and they lost the elections with. And so to do an analysis of the 2020 manifesto to be meaningful, again, it's about track record. Remember, this year is going to be about track record. And so you take the 2020 manifesto and you compare it to the 2012 manifesto which they governed with. And then you could get a sense of track record-wise on delivery of manifestos, how they performed in under John Mahama's 2013 to 2016. And then you could get a sense of, okay, if that is what they did, can we trust in the 2021? That is going to be key. That's what we did for the MPP. We have Nanado, who was governed for the last 4 years, and he's bringing in 2021. You need to look at what he's done in the last 4 years with his 2016 manifesto to have an understanding of what he could do in the next 4 years. So already we've done the analysis for the NDC, two manifestos already. We've done the analysis. We've already done a comparison of the 2012 one, which they governed with, and the 2016 one, which they failed to win elections with. We're just waiting for tonight. And thankfully to the NDC, they've put out some real simple infograph that gives us a sense of what they're about to promise in the 2021. And so we're going to spend time doing the analysis of the 2021, and then we'll compare to the three, but mostly comparing to the 2012 one because they governed with that. That will give you a sense. And then you're going to go into the individual promises of 2020, scrutinize it against a few indices that we've developed. So is it reliable? Is it feasible? Is it relevant? Does it meet the real needs of the people? Cost. Have they costed it? Do we have the funds to execute? All these will come into play when you take the individual promises after you've done the track record comparison of the manifesto. So that's what we're going to do. Already, we've done the 2012 one, we've done the 2016 one. We're just waiting for this one to be launched tonight.
Okay, that's great. Mr. Peter Tokono, help us appreciate how this is going to happen later today. What's the plan?
Well, as we have earlier announced, this event is mainly going to be a virtual event. It is highly restricted. It is only attended by invitation, strictly by invitation. You don't have invitation, you will not be able to have access to the auditorium. We want to create an ambience where, those speakers who would speak to the manifesto would be able to deliver the message for everybody across the world. We are going to be live on all major TV stations and all major radio stations across the country, including even community radio stations. We are going to be live on social media, all social media platforms of our flag bearer, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. And we are also going to be live on all the party social media networks, and other individuals are also going to stream live. It's going to be live on Razor TV, and I'm sure it's going to be live on JoyNews as well. So we hope to reach the homes of every single Ghanaian with the message. And we chose our time advisedly because we know that by 5 p.m., 6 p.m., people will be home, and everybody will be a little bit free. And if they are even not home, they will be driving in traffic, and that they would have access to their radio sets, because we want to reach out to them. The manifesto is for them. It's a people's manifesto, and we are hoping for them to get the message. But there again, I mean, Ivan said something very important. It is not only the message that you have for the people. It is not the aspirations and the challenges that the people express that you are hoping to put programs and policies together to solve. The people must also, have some form of believability in what you are going to do for them. And track record comes in very handy. It becomes very, very important. And thankfully, I mean, nature has presented a very nice opportunity for us to compare the two candidates, in a manner that you don't become biased, because President Mahama has done 4 years, President Akufo-Addo has done 4 years, and their track record is there for everybody to see. So it helps to, project, or if you want to extrapolate, the believability that one can draw from the policy documents that we are putting out, sector by sector. So what you have said in the past and what you have been able to do in the past, and what you are saying, whether it will be accepted. Then the feasibility of those promises are also very important. Bear in mind that the people of this country have very variable, aspirations and what they want the country to be. And that is why it was a very brilliant task, to consider every single idea that was brought by the ordinary people and to settle on the ones that are feasible, the ones that you can do this medium term, and the ones that you can do in the long term. So you realize that some of our policies, we have put some timelines on it. For example, the big push infrastructure, program that President Mahama announced, the $10 billion. He mentioned that it was going to be a 5-year program. So we are very hopeful that by the 4th year, when we are done, we would have seen the clear picture and the outcomes of that big push policy. Bear in mind that President Mahama has been able to do a monumental, work in infrastructure in 4 years. So when he says that he's going to do a $10 billion big push infrastructure program, you can be assured that that will be delivered. But be that as it may, we are very optimistic that within this period, from now till campaign, we have started our campaign already. We have done a couple of regions. The running mate is on a stretch. The flag bearer is on a stretch. Other party leaders are on various stretches, of the campaign. And we have been sending most of the messages out. We are optimistic that within this period till elections, after the manifesto launch, we will be able to disseminate the issues further for people to get it. We are going to have a very simplified version of the manifesto, the abridged one, to make it easy for people to read pointers, not to the polls. We are going to have other documents that is classified what is in it for you. So if you are a journalist, what is in it for you? If you are a fisherman, what is in it for you? If you're a student, what is in it for you? If you're a medical doctor, what is in it for you? If you are an Okada driver, what is in it for you? If you are an ordinary citizen, what is in it for you? I mean, this we believe would help, disseminate our messages further.
Okay. Finally, with you, Dr. Ali Dusedu, before the manifesto is launched and when it is launched, at a period when they're all seeking to get the people's vote, it's easy to talk about the contents, the content of the manifesto, but after they win power, it's difficult asking them further questions on their manifesto. So my question is, how can political scientists such as yourself and how can we, the ordinary people, track what is contained in terms of their own vision in this document after they win power?
So I think accountability for what political parties promise citizens should be a kind of a holistic job, not only for, how am I going to put it? Should be the work of every Ghanaian, within every sector. So people in academia will write about what political parties have said and what they have been able to do. In terms of roughly journal articles, research reports, technical reports, and all those things. And we teach our students as well what these political parties and what they have been able to do and its implication for our democratic development. But moving just beyond what the academia can do, the media is also one of the serious watchdogs that can keep political parties to account, like what Evans Mensah have said, reviewing what they promised to do and whether they have been able to do them, and what does that portend for voting in the future. Civil society, Imani Ghana has this thing called a manifesto, and I think a lot of civil society can also join in to actually interrogate the level of implementability, the success stories, the challenges, to be able to inform future policy making and the drafting of manifesto. So I think it's kind of a holistic responsibility of every Ghanaian. This will help check political parties that just come up with populist rhetorics to win elections. And it also opens up the eyes of Ghanaians to what the reality of politicking, but also doing proper politics in the run-up to every election. So I think once we are able to stand steadfastly in seeking accountability from political parties, it may shift their focus and intentions when they are doing manifesto. Oh, as for Ghanaians, let's just leave it 3 months to election, they will throw it out there, and then when we win elections, we do whatever we want to do. No, we are going to make sure manifesto promises actually matches and reflects on the policies that are promised and implemented when they have the chance to win political power and form governments.
Dr. Ali said, don't leave me yet, just stay with us. Evans Mensah, help our viewers appreciate how we intend covering this event later tonight.
So again, we are partnering with Imani Africa for the coverage of tonight's event, and because of the expertise they built in this area, analyzing manifestos across the sub-region. They've done analysis of manifestos in Liberia, in Ghana. They have the manifesto that we all know has great credibility. And so we are tapping into their expertise. We'll start at 4 because the NDC plans to start at 5, because there's a lot to get through. This bit about our coverage comes back to the question you asked about: do we have enough time to analyze the NDC's manifesto, seeing that it's coming less than 3 months on election? What we've done is we didn't wait for the manifestos. We've been tracking the promises that the candidate has been making on his campaign tours, because it will be pretty strange for him to be making promises on the campaign platforms that somehow is missing in the final document when it's launched tonight. And so we've tracked a few, we've put it together. So we have a fair idea what it's going to be. And so we're going to start by sort of highlighting the promises, in a sense, what our expectations will be of the final document. Once that is done, our Imani friends will join us and do a critique of John Mohammed's track record when it comes to manifestos. This is leading up to the event itself. Look at the 2016 document, 2012 document as well, highlighting some very fascinating areas that Imani has isolated for us to look at. We'll cover the event itself and then come back and do a post-analysis of what we've heard. And we are expecting that the document will match the promises, and we'll tell you what we think about some of the promises that we'll hear in the manifestos. And then obviously we'll end by analyzing the Greater Accra contest, which of course we've talked about on the show. And we'll also be trying to match it with people's aspirations as well. Other civil society organizations have done great job in putting together what they call a People's Manifesto, which the NDC says their document is. Send Ghana has done a document, and they traveled across the country to put that together. This is an independent CSO document or people's aspiration. Is it matching with what the NDC, for example, is putting forward? CDD has another document also with the Manifesto project, also has some very interesting ideas in there. That's the NDC Manifesto, match up to these as well. And so very thorough analysis we expect today, all around 360, starting from 4 p.m.